Hey everybody, I'm live one more time from Washington, D.C. If you have comments and questions, you can add them here. I will respond in real time or I'll respond when I get time. I'm the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope, the nation's first and only nonprofit financial services network for the poor, the working class, and the struggling middle class. Those with too much month at the end of their money. Those who make $50,000 a year or less are my clients. I'm also CEO of Brian Group Ventures and author of a couple books. The book I suggest you to read the most is How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path to the Middle Class. Now, I'm talking today about Prince. And first of all, God rest his soul. Just a brilliant man. And my friends who knew him, my friends like Van Jones, whose hearts were broken, my hearts are with you. Those who called Prince family, those who admired him like me, respected him like me, planned to meet him, which is what was on my schedule for this year, like me. We all have a deep loss and feel like we're connected to this man, even though he was very, very private, right? And his music will live forever. I do you an apology because we're near the Pentagon, so you're going to keep having these connection problems. But I'm going to try to do this video crisp and clean and quick. So there's two business lessons that we can take away from Prince's life. And I waited a while to do this because I didn't want to be insensitive to the pain that people were going through in the mourning period. But I think there's two business lessons we need to take away from Prince's life. One, we take it as sort of, a lot of people take it as like just artistic expression when he called himself the symbol. That was not artistic expression, well it was, but it was also a brilliant business move. So he was born Prince Roger Nelson, I believe is the exact legal name. And so that was his name his mother gave him. He signed a bunch of contracts early on in his career that he was really unaware of. And so we know that in the music game, it is often a game. And so later on, he was told by the record label, you don't own your own name. You're under this contract. You got to do what we say, when we say, how we say. And when you produce music, it is owned or controlled by us. And he said, I don't think so. I'm going to take control of my music and my life and my name and my likeness. And until I do, then yeah, I'm back. That was my office calling me, and I'm not going to take it. I'm going to talk to you. Janae, tell Shamila I'm not available yet. I'll call her back. Okay. So, Janae Roscoe, my government relations team in the back. So you're more important than my business. So the artist known as Prince said to the world, I no longer exist. Prince Roger Nelson, or the artist Prince, no longer exists. Call me symbol. And what he was saying was, if you're going to restrict my movement, if you're going to tell me that what I do is controlled by you, then I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything under that name. And if I'm not doing it under that name, you can't control my economic destiny, and you can't issue products because I'm not doing it as Prince. So he then created a symbol. I just love this. It was brilliant. He created a symbol which now has its own value, right? So it's because of this drama that the record companies created, this guy turns around and creates a symbol which now has its own value in the world. Now you see the symbol, you think you're seeing, in other words, you see the symbol and you know that's Prince. That's called a brand, and that's brilliant. So even in the midst of problems, this still applies, this law of nature. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. And loss creates leaders. That's from my book, Love Leadership. And so Prince was brilliant, and he got all of his publishing back, got his name back. It took years, by the way, in a legal fight. But in the meantime, he created a marketing opportunity through a symbol, right? And through the world talking about him and the media doing stories about the fact that the guy's called a symbol. I mean, he couldn't have bought the press that he got in the world by being called the symbol guy, right? But it was also just a really practical business move. And that's brilliant move number one. And I want to give him credit for that. That's business lesson number one, is to own your product, own your name. Don't sign contracts you don't understand, and understand that the music business is a business. As my friend Quincy Jones would say, if you're in the music business and you don't own publishing rights or writing rights or some kind of licensing rights for your own product, you're not in the music business, you're just a temporary performer. You're not in the music business. You're just a temporary performer, and they will replace you next week, next year. You'll be a one-hit wonder, a two-hit wonder, whatever it is. You can be a 100-hit wonder. You'll be broke because you don't own product, right? And then Quincy Jones is worth, I don't want to tell his business, but a lot of money because he owns publishing rights, right? That was the key to Michael Jackson. He owned publishing rights. That was the key. That is the key to Prince. He owned his own publishing rights, right? That was, I mean, even the Beatles, as brilliant as they are, and they've done well financially, they didn't own their own publishing rights. Michael Jackson purchased them, and Paul McCarthy was not too happy with Michael about that. It was a brilliant business move. You can't hate on Michael for doing it. It was brilliant, and those publishing rights are worth well over $1 billion, just with a B, today. Probably more, and that's not even including Michael Jackson's publishing rights. So you got to understand the music business is a business, but we want to dance on a stage. We want to rock a mic. You know, I'm gonna do a whole video on how black folks can't just be entertainment. It can't just be the show, right? You got to understand that under all these things, under sports and under music and under television and all that stuff, is a business. That doesn't mean you can't pursue your passion, but it means you cannot be an artist and say, oh, I don't want to handle the business. I'm not interested in the business. Then you're going to get played. And Prince was committed to not being played. Well, that's the brilliant part. I think, unfortunately, he thought he'd live forever or live at least a while longer. We all think we do. You know, death is never convenient. Death is very rarely scheduled, right? And so we don't know how long we're going to live, but we dang well know we're going to die. And so we should prepare for that like we prepare for everything else. On the plane coming here, I'd actually updated my will. And when you update your will, you get absolute clarity in your life about who loves you, who doesn't, about who you trust and who you don't, about where you want your assets to go and not. But see, the problem, the second business lesson, and it just breaks my heart, Prince was obsessive, obviously, about the details of his life. I mean, everything was down. He didn't want to sign contracts. He didn't want people in his house that were toxic. He wouldn't allow meat in his house because he was a vegetarian. I mean, if you want to eat meat, you had to eat it in the lobby. I mean, in the parking lot. He wouldn't allow you to have meat inside of his house. He was very intentional about all the aspects of his life. He was very private, and I respect that because I'm very much the same way. And he was a public man, well, a private man living a public life. And here we find he's passed, and either he didn't have a will or they can't find it. And now he's got people who I think it's fair to say either he didn't know very well, or I'm sure he loved them because they're his family, but either he didn't know them very well or he didn't like them because they weren't really close to him, and there was clearly some drama in the relationship. These were not people he hung around on a regular basis. And now his family members, all blood, but, you know, I don't want to get personal, but I mean, it's just obvious that this was not like who he wanted to like control his destiny. And these folks have absolute total control, or will soon, unless they find a will, of his publishing rights, of his unlicensed and unreleased music, of his estate, of where he slept, of all that stuff. People who loved him and have the best of his best interest for him and want to turn the place into a museum where he lived and do wonderful things in his honor will have to go through people who really didn't know him to make decisions. And this is really set up to be an absolute mess. And you know, Prince is turning over in his grave. It has to be from a soul perspective, saying, I really wish I would have done a will, because, and I hope he did one, and we just can't find it yet. Because if he didn't have a will, in the next few weeks, this is just going to be an absolute economic disaster, and his legacy is not in control of people for whom he cares, loves, and respects. So you got to take care of your business, folks. And even if you are a postman, you should have a will, right? Even if you are, I mean, it don't matter what job you have assets and you have a legacy. Sit down today, write out on a piece of paper, you know, your assets and your liabilities, but more importantly, who you want to control your estate in the unfortunate event of you passing unexpectedly. If you become incapacitated in a hospital and can't speak, like happened to my father, right? And luckily, I was able to show up, and it was clear I could make decisions, and I loved him, and I think I did what was in his best interest. But if you are incapacitated and you can't talk, who gets to speak for you? And this is really deep. Stop. Just stop what you're doing and create a will, and then give that to somebody you respect, you love. Give it, if you have an attorney, give it to your attorney, give it to your CPA. You don't want it to, you know, don't give it to anybody that's going to be emotional about it, by the way. Don't give it to anybody who may love you today and not love you tomorrow, or may play games with it. Give it to a neutral party who you respect and admire. I'm gonna give mine to my attorney first, right? So not even my mother is getting it first. My mother actually is in the will, so that doesn't mean anything negative about that. I'm just saying it's not about family. Don't get personal about it, right? I make sure my family's taken care of. My wife and my kids and all, my kids, the people of the world, my kids, and actually I'm covering that because I'm creating a family foundation. But I started thinking about all that when I was updating my will, and you don't think about that otherwise. And I really hope the Prince has a will. Let's pray for that, because otherwise it's going to be a first-class, unadulterated, absolute mess. Because when you start introducing money into a situation, people lose their mind. All right, love you much. Hope this has been helpful. I'm out. I'm late for a business call. My man Cash is here, who is a small business owner who's taking care of me. My girl Janae Roscoe is in the back, and you're here with me, and we're spreading love and civil rights and straight talk. Okay, I'm out. I have a special message later today.